Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Howdy, howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show before the free show on a gorgeous day.
It is good.
I'm struggling.
It's a good day.
I'm really struggling being inside right now.
It's a good day. It's a big day. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the pre-show for the free show. How was your weekend? You were in San Antonio, and then you weren't in San Antonio.
Yeah, and then I should have just been in San Antonio because I just ended up watching all of the games all weekend because I had to be there in case.
Do we want to have a moment of silence for my beloved Coppell Cowgirls?
Oh, dude.
And then Clark won the title, right?
They did. Which, if you're going to lose to the champion.
No, don't agree.
No?
Don't agree. So Coppell, if you didn't know, Coppell, I believe maybe the first time in program history they're in the state semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
And were ahead, and then they got buzzer beated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like 1.3 seconds left. Maybe girl makes an unbelievable 3-point shot to win it. She thought she just tied the game. I think Ish talked to her afterwards, and she thought that the girl that hit it from Clark thought that she tied the game. So she wasn't like super excited. And then she looked up and she realized that 1 point put them ahead because they were down 2. Yeah. Unbelievable game.
So Coppell got
booted.
Crushed. Sad. Anyway, sad. Pickle, what's the most interesting country in the world?
Interesting country? Oh, gosh. It's got to be somewhere that has a ton of history to it.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
I think like Rome. Not that. Well, that's
Rome's
a city.
in Italy.
Yeah.
Dateline.
Okay. Dateline.
Japan.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
Japan's the most interesting country in the world. I've long thought this. I know I've said this here.
Yeah.
That's my number one
bucket
dream
list.
vacation.
Yeah.
Is going.
I don't know. I also think like there could be like a South American country that would contest.
Do you know what's going on in Japan right now? There's a lot of stuff going on in Japan. There's a bit of a crisis going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Let me read you a headline.
Okay.
Let me find the headline that I want. Quote, Japan will disappear. No babies, no Japan. Prime Minister Kishida's aide says country will disappear if people don't have more children. There's a population crisis going on in Japan that I feel like not enough people are talking about. So, long story short, too many people, like a lot of people are dying and they're not being replaced. For the last decade, Japan's population has fallen, like year after year after year. This past year was the first time that they fell below there were fewer than 800,000 births compared to 1.58 million deaths, okay?
Wow.
Right. No, it's bad.
So that's like,
right?
What, 400,000?
Like 700,000. Their population is dropping. 1.5 million. Yeah.
1.5. Okay, I thought you said 1. Sorry.
They have one of the lowest birth rates in the world.
That still would only be 2. No.
The fertility rate, so essentially, like across the world, generally speaking, women, number of children a woman has in their lifetime needs to be about 2.1 to maintain a stable population. Okay. That's without immigration, whatever. That's just 2.1. Japan's at 1.3.
Wow.
Okay. It's bad. Okay. Their population has fallen 4 million people since 2008. Okay. 4 million fewer Japanese than in 2008. There's a couple reasons why. One of them is that like they don't do a good job of supporting parents. Like they need to invest more in childcare and stuff like that and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
There's also just like there's a lot of cultural things that are going on. Like Japan is famously very like hardworking. Like they all work themselves to the bone. And so these like young professional women are like, no, like I want to go work and I want to make money and be a productive member of society in that way. But another part of it, and this goes hand in hand. I'll give you a couple other headlines about this. One of them is like kind of there's a couple of different things they're doing. Tokyo is unveiling an egg freezing fund for women that they are allowing. They will give you $2,200 to freeze your eggs.
All right. I mean,
to try to
that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So they're trying that.
Yeah.
They'll give you $2,200, $300,000.
I mean, if nothing else, you can do it, and if you don't end up using it, then you got $2,200 out of it.
Here's the other one. Japan, and this is kind of so. Another reason why people are not having kids in Japan is a ton of people live in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And there's just not space.
I was fixing to say
it's expensive.
Yeah, isn't there a geographic size problem there?
A big part of it. It's not just geographic size; it is also population density.
Density, yeah.
Because Japan is one of the largest cities in the world, and
yet it's on an island.
Everyone crams into Japan, so there's not enough room. There's not enough money to cost of living is through the roof. Well, and so it's like, why would I have? So people are like, why would I have a kid?
Well, and to go even further than that, into your city planning realm, I would assume that infrastructure starts to be an issue at that point too, because how are you supposed to maintain that level of households or buildings or anything like that? Like they physically cannot expand. So at this point, they're going to have to keep redoing what they have. And if you have a population of 1.7 or 1.5, that's crazy.
So here's another thing that they're doing to help fight it. Okay? Starting this past April, the Japanese government will start paying couples with children 18 and younger $7,700 a child to move out of Tokyo.
Wow.
They're paying people to leave Tokyo. Because they think that part of it is that like all these villages outside, like they're like it's all these old people and they're all dying, and so these villages are dying.
Yeah.
And so then it's harder to get people to move out there.
Then it'll be Tokyo and then a bunch of barren wasteland.
That's exactly right. And so they are paying people to leave Tokyo, $7,700 1 million yen to move out of Tokyo into.
Is that a one-time payment, or is it for every year that you live outside you get that added bonus? Because that would be enticing.
It's a one-time payment.
Okay.
It's a one-time payment. So like me and my family, we could get paid about $15,000 to leave Tokyo.
Yeah.
And part of that is they want to ease that. They also want to like repopulate those areas and stuff like that. I'm really locked in on this Japanese population crisis because it's like really interesting, and people like there's the government is using very like apocalyptic phrasings, and stuff like that. Like they're saying like Japan will disappear if we don't start, and it's like you can't just say, hey, have more babies, because like part of it is there's so much cultural things in there, and so they're trying to attack it a variety of different ways.
Well, also, even if you have them, if they all live in Tokyo, it's not going to work. No, like that's the whole thing.
Multifaceted problem that's going on.
That's
there.
crazy.
And so anyway, that's today in Japan. Hit the theme expo. Pickle. Hit the arrow sign. Yes, yo! From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, a show that's back from the weekend. That is true. We are. True. My name's Greg Tupper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine, TexasFootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Whether you're watching us live, TexasFootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all the places. Or you'll listen to the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part. Support your local, mediocre internet show. I'm sitting over there at the helm today, making us sound good. She is the Duchess of Dork. She's Miss 305. She's Ashley Pickle.
Hi, friends. Oh, man, I would kill to be in Miami today. That would rule with how nice it is.
It is
Alas,
nice.
I am in Lewisville.
Nothing wrong with Lewisville.
Same thing. Exact same thing, but different.
I have never seen Lewisville and Miami in the same room at the same time. That's all I'm saying.
This is fair.
Today is Monday, March 6th, 2023. 262 days till Thanksgiving. Happy 166th birthday to George Dayton.
Is that where Dayton High School came from?
No.
Okay.
Do you know George Dayton?
Clearly,
George Dayton is a very should be a more famous person,
okay.
I think. Dayton is the founder of Dayton's Department Store, which is today known as Target.
Wow.
Is that not like...
I thought you were going with, like, Academy, because I was like, oh, okay, maybe Dayton, Ohio, where the... isn't that the Hall of Fame
like,
there?
That is a very influential, famous person that I feel like we don't know about.
No one knows
George
about
Dayton.
It. Interesting.
today.
Happy birthday yesterday to our buddy Jorts. It was David Hinojosa's birthday.
Happy birthday to the
happy
king
belated.
of the Jorts. King of Jorts Nation.
I got to see Jorts down in San Antonio.
Was he wearing jorts?
I didn't look, actually.
That's a unforced error on your part.
Yeah.
Episode 1550. Look at that. Some numbers are round. On today's show, folks, we have got headlines from across the state, including Galena Park North Shore has a new head coach. Stephen F. Austin has a new defensive coordinator, and we have a new podcast network to tell you about. In the back half of the show, we're going to catch up with the head coach of the San Antonio Southside Cardinals, Coach Ricky Locke. They are fresh off of their first ever 10-win season. I need to look this up. He might be the winningest coach in Southside history.
That's big time.
Because, like, they were always kind of fair to spare, and since he's gotten there, they've been really good. So we will hear from the head coach of the San Antonio Southside Cardinals, Coach Ricky Locke, coming up here at the back half of the program. Do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. I clicked out of it. Nick Morton, Coach I
wore my Abbott shirt this weekend.
Nice.
My Created by Culture shirt.
It rules. Tony Blaylock and Zill0678. Welcome in, friends. Coach Crawford's an assistant softball coach now, so that's been keeping him busy.
All right.
Yeah.
How the Lady Panthers?
I would assume so.
or just Panthers?
Yeah.
How the Abbott softball team doing? Let us know, Coach. All right, Pickle. Time for some headlines from across the state of Texas. We will start with the following up on last week's breaking news, which was that Galena Park North Shore's head coach John Kay was leaving to become the new linebackers coach at Rice. They wasted no time. The next day, they hired Willie Gaston, the offensive coordinator for North Shore, to become the next head coach of the mighty Mustangs there at North Shore High School.
Which seems super smart.
Gaston is an alum. Mm-hmm. He was a star quarterback himself there at North Shore, and, by the way, is known far and wide as one of the finest offensive minds in Texas high school football. There are a lot of parallels, I think, to this situation and the Austin Westlake situation.
Yes.
Where there was... Now, the Austin Westlake situation, we knew Todd Dodge was going to retire. Mm-hmm. He announced it and said he was going to retire. And they named Coach Tony Salazar kind of the coach in waiting. Mm-hmm. But it was, even before he was the coach in waiting, it was...
widely known.
It was an open secret that Tony Salazar was going to be the next head coach at Westlake.
Yeah.
I think it's a similar situation here with Willie Gaston at North Shore. This is a guy who has been one of the headliners of this. One of the big reasons why North Shore has been so successful. And he's been there since 2008. Been there for a long time. He's widely respected. And when John Kay left, I think,
this is a layup.
This felt like, don't think too hard. Mm-hmm. It's right here.
It would have been one of those that, had they hired literally anyone else, we would have been going, what's going on behind the scenes? Because there's no reason that he shouldn't be it.
Kind of a similar situation, I would say, is what happened at Liberty Hill.
Yes.
With
Kent Walker.
With the passing of Kent Walker, the passing of Jeff Walker, and they promoted his brother Kent. Mm-hmm. Again, just felt really obvious. Obviously, different situations there, but this was. I don't think there was really any question that this was the way to go.
We would have been shocked if it was any other way.
Yeah, I mean, it's also it also fits in nicely with what we say, which is, if you have a good program going,
and
you've got an assistant that's sticking around, just plug and play. And that's what they're doing there. So North Shore has a new head coach. Willie Gaston will be the head coach of the North Shore Mustangs moving forward. During the college ranks, we talked about last week how Stephen F. Austin was looking for a defensive coordinator. They were looking for a defensive coordinator after Joe Cathan left to go to be the defensive coordinator at Utah State. They have found a defensive coordinator. Michael Mutz is going to be the next defensive coordinator for Colby Carthel and company there at Stephen F. Austin. He is coming from Tulane, where he was their linebackers coach. He was on the Sam Houston coaching staff twice, defensive line coach in 2004 and 2005, and then he was there as their defensive backs coach in 2013. DC at Blinn. He has some history there from San Antonio. He's from Texas. He's from San Antonio. But Willie Fritz he's been on Fritz's staff there for the last 10 seasons there at Tulane. He followed him from Sam Houston to Georgia Southern to Tulane. So the new defensive coordinator there at Stephen F. Austin is going to be Michael Mutz. This from our own Corey Hogue. Dipping into the sticking with the non-FBS ranks, and this is big news in the Division III ranks. That Dave Campbell's Texas Football, through our own Corey Hogue, has confirmed that Trinity, which is becoming itself a Division III powerhouse, will play in non-conference play Mary Hardin Baylor and St. John's.
You want to talk about a gauntlet?
Those are big, heavy-hitting matchups, and when you add in, I would say you've now got matchups here: Trinity versus Mary Hardin Baylor, Trinity versus St. John's, and then I would also lump in Mary Hardin Baylor is going to play Wisconsin Whitewater in non-conference. You are going to have 4 programs going at it that have combined for 11 national championships.
That's crazy.
Yes.
And then later in the season, they'll have to play that Rhodes College out of Memphis, which I heard is just a juggernaut. So that's huge.
Anyway, I would say that this is pretty big news in the Division III ranks as far as scheduling is concerned. They ain't afraid. Mm-mm. Trinity is going to play Mary Hardin Baylor and St. John's during non-conference play. A gauntlet there and some big-time D3 action coming to Texas in 2023. To the high school ranks we go, and back to a story we may have touched on briefly. It's a story I'll be honest, it's a story I've intentionally tried to avoid.
Yeah, things got dicey.
Rockwall Heath is looking for a head coach. John Harrell has resigned there at Rockwall Heath. There has been he has been on administrative leave since early January after an off-season workout that resulted in the hospitalization of several players, which resulted in an investigation by Rockwall ISD and Texas Child Protective Services. The results of that investigation have not been made public. John Harrell has been the head coach there since 2022 was his first season. He was the running game coordinator for Mike Spradlin before that. I said that I've kind of intentionally avoided this story, not for the sake of trying to hide it from you. It's obviously available out there. The Dallas Morning News has done a really good job covering it and things like that. There's just a lot that we don't know about that. And it felt, from my perspective, if I would only be piling on, and I would only, in my opinion, be sparking more speculation in order to go into that. I think we mentioned that John Harrell was on administrative leave, and then we kind of let it be. But the facts on the ground are that after a workout, several players were hospitalized. After that workout, and John Harrell was put on administrative leave. He has since resigned there at Rockwall Heath. It is a sad story all around, I think. And I don't know now that he's resigned. I mean, I guess there could be a situation if the report comes back or the results of the investigation come back and they are sufficiently troubling. This could crop up again. But I do wonder. If John Harrell resigning at Rockwall Heath is going to be more or less the end of the conversation. There.
Right, and I think also, in contrary to what we said about North Shore about hiring within, I think that you would likely see just a whole new facelift there for Rockwall Heath.
Yeah, several members of the 2022 coaching staff have already departed, including both the OC and the DC. We will see what happens there at Rockwall Heath, yeah. This is going to. I would imagine that they will move relatively quickly. Coach Russ Reed or athletic director Russ Reed will probably move quickly on that job. But John Harrell has stepped down there as the head coach there at Rockwall Heath. Round Rock is looking for a head coach. Jeff Cheatham, the head coach there at Rockwall, is
Round Rock.
Round Rock rather. Round Rock Rockwell.
Rockwall.
He has been the head coach there at Round Rock for 13 seasons, but 2022 is his final one. He is stepping down. Not really.
Kind of.
Yeah, he's leaving his current position.
Yes.
As head coach at Round Rock High to be the new athletic director for Round Rock ISD.
Yeah, congratulations, Coach.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Dwayne Wyrick. Man, just tough morning. He retired in December as the after about 10 years there as the athletic director at Round Rock ISD. Jeff Cheatham is going to be the new athletic director at Round Rock ISD, which leaves open the job of the Dragons. He has 23. He finishes with a record of 143 and 111. Before he was at Round Rock, he was the head coach there at Salado. But congratulations, Coach Cheatham. I mean, we'll still deal with him a lot, but because he's the AD now. But Round Rock is open, and I think that's going to be a very enticing position.
Yeah,
absolutely. There at Round Rock High, kind of a twofer.
Yeah.
Dealing with the same coaching staff.
Step had his pulse on both of these as well.
Friendswood has made a hire. Friendswood, Robert Koopman is out as the head coach there at Friendswood, and they have made a hire. They have hired Denton Geyer offensive coordinator Jordan Johnson to be their next head coach. He's been the offensive coordinator for the last 3 years for the Wildcats, helping them to a state championship appearance in 2021. Of course, they were excellent this past year as well. He was wide receivers coach at Rockwall before then. He played college football. If the name Jordan Johnson rings a bell, he did play football at LSU. He is a Friendswood grad, so this is a homecoming for him. But the new offensive coordinator, or the new head coach rather, at Friendswood is one of their own, Denton Guyer offensive coordinator Jordan Johnson, the new head coach there at Friendswood. Sticking on the Denton Guyer staff, Italy has made a hire. Shout out to Caitlin McCann. Mm-hmm. Italy has made a hire. They have hired defensive linebackers coach from Denton Guyer, Mike Lovelace, to be their next head coach, taking over for Lee Wilkins, who resigned after just one season. This is another homecoming. Mike Lovelace is an Italy grad. He has he was a head coach at Kearns for 6 seasons, where he was actually pretty darn good. Back in the early part of the 2000s, he led Kearns to 3 regional semifinal appearances. He's got a 48-24 record, but he was an assistant at South Lake Carroll before he was at Guyer. He has got a pretty dynamic resume, and he is going to return home there to Italy as Mike Lovelace is going to be the next head coach of the Italy Gladiators, leaving his role as linebackers coach there.
And that says something about Coach Riedheim at Guyer, too, because good assistants get hired away. So to have 2 big names like that leave to go take over programs is a shining star on his plate, even though, he probably hates to see him go.
Yeah, most certainly. This one came as a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, it did.
Friend of ours, friend of the show, Brandon Houston, the head coach of the Taylor Ducks, no more. He's going to take a new role, a different role within Taylor ISD. That's all that's been said. I got to follow up with Coach Houston to figure out exactly what he's going to be doing. But he's going to take a new role within Taylor ISD. There as he went 8-13 over the last 2 seasons. But that is honestly a minor miracle, considering he took over a program that was on a 21-game losing streak. Mm-hmm. To go 8-13 in 2 seasons is
and make the playoffs.
A huge step in the right direction. They made the playoffs there in 2022, 5-6 this past year. Again, for that Taylor program, you got to grade things a little bit on the curve here. Mm-hmm. A huge step in the right direction. But yeah, he's going to move into a new role there. Before that, he was at Buffalo. That's kind of where we got to know him. He was really, really successful there at Buffalo. And so yeah, keep an eye on that one. As Taylor's looking for a new head coach, the Ducks, as Coach Brandon Houston, is going to move into a new role within Taylor ISD. Rockport Fulton has made a hire. They are going to Midlothian Heritage to hire their defense coordinator, Jacob Bible, to be their next head coach. Jay Seibert, we mentioned, is going to take the job at Sweeney. And Coach Bible, who is an Oklahoma guy, he's going to move from Denton Guyer or rather Midlothian Heritage, to the coast, to Rockport Fulton, to take over that program. Before that, he was on the staff at Aledo, where he was a part of their 2019 and 2020 state championship squads. And yeah, this is, I believe, boy, I want to look at this real quick. You're listening to live coverage of me looking up our coaching changes page, which you can find on TexasFootball.com.
Brought to you by the helpful North Texas Honda dealers.
Yeah. So no, I'm thinking of Nick Ward, who's the Midlothian defensive backs coach. I thought this was another defensive assistant from Midlothian Heritage, but it was Midlothian defensive back coach who Nick Ward became the new head coach at Cedar Hill. In any case, Jacob Bible is going to be the next head coach there at Rockport Fulton, as the Pirates haul in their guy. Maybe you do or don't know this. If you're not in the greater Houston area, in the Mo City, Fort Bend ISD is going to open a new school in 2023. They'll start playing varsity football in 2024. It's going to be Fort Bend Crawford. And they have hired a head coach. Fort Bend Dulles offensive coordinator David Jackson is going to be the head coach of the newest school in Fort Bend ISD. He's been on the staff at Dulles for 8 seasons. He was a freshman coach, worked his way all the way up to being offensive coordinator since 2019. It's not yet determined where they're going to be, but they'll probably, Matt Stepp on TexasFootball.com kind of speculates. I would say he's got a good pulse on this type of thing. They'll probably be a 5A thing. They'll primarily pull from Fort Bend Ridgepoint, if you're interested in that. It'll be Fort Bend ISD's 12th high school there, Fort Bend Crawford, their new head coach, David Jackson. Finally, the biggest news of the week. Look at that darn thing.
How about that?
Past Wednesday, the Republic of Football, those nerds who run that college football podcast, well, they just expanded. That's right. Announcing the Republic of Football Podcast Network, which is a Republic of Football launch in 2017. We've been having a podcast ever since then. It's our college football podcast. You should subscribe to it. You should definitely now subscribe to it, because we are expanding to include a variety of other shows. We launch with 6 podcasts that are going to be part of the Republic of Football Podcast Network, including, look, Republic of Football, not going away, all that type of stuff. We're still going to keep doing that. But we're adding in some existing podcasts, Between Two Bears, which is a Baylor podcast with Matt Wilson, Evan Hebert, and Deontay Epps. Gambling Gauchos, the tech podcast.
Fantastic
those
podcast
nerds,
name.
Rob Bro and Kyle Jacobson. Excellent podcast, by the way. All these are excellent, I should say. The Green Room, our friend Matthew Bruni and Colin Mitchell's podcast about North Texas. And the Roost podcast.
Let's go.
Matthew Bartlett and Carter Spires, a Rice podcast. If you're unfamiliar with the Roost, I've been a big fan of the Roost for a while.
It's fantastic.
They cover Rice, I think, better than anybody. In addition, we are launching 2 brand new podcasts. We're launching Eyes on Texas, which is our Texas Longhorns podcast. It's going to be Mike Craven and Aaron Hogan of 104.9 The Horn down there. They're going to be talking in-depth analysis of what's going on in the 40 acres. And then, sorry, the coach is wondering where we're just really excited.
And then it's the Aggie War Pod.
The Aggie War Pod, the newest podcast from the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football Podcast Network, talking about Texas A&M Aggies with Mike Craven and former Texas A&M defensive lineman and Duke's mayonnaise enjoyer, Jay Arnold, who will be joining us on the podcast. And, by the way, more could be on the way. It's big doings there, the Republic of Football Podcast Network. Just make sure you check that out. Go subscribe. It'll all be in the same feed, the Republic of Football feed. So if you subscribe to Republic of Football, all those podcasts will be coming through your feed. So
it's good stuff.
We're really excited about that. Go subscribe to Republic of Football. We're Texas Football Tonight. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Now a word from our friends at VCR Now.
Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texas loves doing business with fellow Texans. VCR Now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful, long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW.
Pickle, let's go to the hotline. Let's go down to the Alamo City and
210.
check in with the head coach of the San Antonio Southside Cardinals. We're joined by Coach Ricky Locke. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
We're doing great. How are things in beautiful San Antonio?
Oh, it's rolling right along, man. It's good weather and everything's that time of year when everything's in motion, man.
Everything is in motion, and things. The motion there in Cardinal country has only been in the positive direction recently. You guys are coming off of the first 10-win season in program history, a 10-2 mark, and that has become kind of the norm. There is the success that you guys have had there with the Cardinals. I'm interested this past year with the 10-2 mark. Did that feel like? Did that kind of strike you as the kind of milestone that it strikes for us, that getting that 10-win mark feels like a really big deal?
Well, yeah, it's the most in school history, and I got here in 2014 and had been to playoffs 4 times in 61 years, and then it, had never won a playoff game, won district championship in 92, and then never won more than 7 games in a season. We won 7 and 8 twice, 9 twice, and finally 10 got in the double digits this year. So we're a work in progress, but we've made significant gains.
And I guess my question is how? You mentioned you took over a program that the history was fine. It's kind of middling. A couple of playoff appearances here and there, but you guys have consistently, now you guys have made the playoffs 7 consecutive years. That's more than they had made the playoffs combined in the 50-something years before you arrived. What has been let's just give away the secret. What has been the secret to turning this into a sustained success story?
Man, Greg, I can't tell you. It's been we hit the hallways hard when we got here and recruited and tried to get kids back out. And we had a really good junior class that was going to be seniors, and they were hungry. And I couldn't believe they were coming off a 1-9 year because they were a lot better than that. And it's kind of Matthew Collier got us started here. He rushed for 1,800 yards 3 years in a row, and went off to college, and then helped us out and get us over the hump. We had a bunch of good players since, with Richard Torres signing with Nebraska and Michael Young signing with Wyoming. But, there wasn't much history, and it's fun to watch it. It's a lot of work, a lot of things go into it. But, we had a pretty good plan in, and I've got some really good coaches here, and my defensive coordinator has been with me since I came on campus, and my offensive coordinator too. So we're excited about. There's been a lot of turnover here, but not athletic-wise. We've had pretty much the same staff, and I've been through 6 superintendents in 9 years, but 6 high school principals. But our staff has been able to be consistent, and stay here, and it's been a great thing to watch us become kind of relevant.
We're talking with Ricky Locke, the head coach of the San Antonio Southside Cardinals here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TFDay. Coach, one of the biggest reasons that you guys have been able to be so successful, at least from where I'm sitting, is, it does seem like every single year you guys put out one of the finest defenses in the San Antonio area. This past year, you guys were absolutely exceptional on the defensive side. I'm interested in what has that been a kind of a building process to kind of build yourself a defensive identity over the course of your tenure there?
Yes. I mean, I'm an old defensive coordinator. I was a defensive coordinator at North Shore and Huntsville, and, I'm defensive minded, even though I do call the plays now. But I think if you always play great defense, you'll have a chance to be successful and have a chance to win. And that's what we do. We hang our hat on that. And, for 5A football, we have about 5 or 6 guys that go both sides of the ball. And our defense has, always been stout and always been pretty good. And we think that we're going to keep stressing that and hopefully win some more games.
I want to ask you a little bit about your 2023 squad moving forward. It strikes me looking at what you guys bring back, that the real strength of this team is going to be up front. That you guys have got some guys on both sides of the ball in the trenches that are gonna do some work. Is that your read on the situation? Look, I'm not going to hold you to it on March 6th. You got a few weeks before you got to play a game. But is it fair to say that that right now, when you look at your 2023 squad, you think you're going to hang your hat in the trenches?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be the biggest offensive line we've ever had, and a bunch of them are back from last year, and it turned out to be one of the best we've had, and they're going to be pretty good again. And we went from weighing 205 to now we're weighing 270 and 290, and 6'2s and 6'3s. So we're getting a bigger kind of player in that regard on the offensive line. Defensive line, we've got 3 stars back on defensive front, and our leading tackler, our linebacker, Paul Yarmy, is back. So we feel pretty good. We have 6 true starters back on defense, another 2 that played a lot, so just about 8. And then we got 5 on offense and another 2 or 3 that played a whole lot. So we feel pretty good about what we have coming back. And I feel like, if we do things right and stay healthy, we'll have a chance to be right in the middle of the race.
And then, on the as far as the skill position guys are concerned, this is you mentioned Ricky Torres, who you guys had a couple of years ago. The offense was very strong again last year, but you guys are graduating a lot of a few of the skill position guys. I'm interested. Do you have one or two guys that you look at that you expect to step up and play a key role on the offense this upcoming season?
Oh yeah, we have one of our fastest players back, Ruben Alanis, and Noah Van Osdal, and Noah Ramirez. Jeremy Obregon. They were all district players. We did lose Castaneda and Hernandez, and they were pretty, real good for us. But we feel pretty good about what we have coming back, especially with that offensive line just getting stronger every day, and we feel really good about that. But we're one of those teams that we get the, like Torres. He went down. He had an ACL third game of the year, his senior year, and he's a Power 5 quarterback, 6'6". He's up to about 230 now at Nebraska. But we lost him in week 4. I mean, that was brutal for us because we were throwing the ball about 35 times a game, and now we're back to running it like we've been doing with success, and we've had a lot of good running backs come through here, and I think that the trend will continue.
Finally, Coach, you've had a remarkable resume, a remarkable career. The places that you've been, you were the head coach there at Elgin, at Woodville, Gonzales, Gainesville, before you arrived there on the Southside. But I want to go back to your very first head coaching job, where you were the head coach there at Runge. Runge right now, I'm not sure how much attention you keep up with Runge, is rocking with an enrollment of 70. I'm not sure what the enrollment was whenever you were the head coach, but it probably wasn't in the thousands, as it wasn't close to maybe the 1650 that you have at Southside. I'm interested in because you have a unique perspective on this. The difference between coaching at a place like San Antonio Southside, which is a 5A Division I program, and coaching maybe like you did leading the Runge to two straight 10-win seasons back in the 90s.
Yeah, I have so many great memories Runge, Texas, and my kids were all little then, and me and my wife went there, didn't know what to expect, and they had a superintendent there, Harold D. King, and he ran it. He ran that thing, with an iron hammer, and I love working for that guy. He was no nonsense, but they were very good at the time, and had I had Alonzo Esparza, who led the whole Class A in rushing, and we just had a great phenomenon. Rusty Nell was my offensive coordinator.
Oh, wow.
He went on to great success at Mart in Madisonville, but I've had some great assistant coaches that worked with me, and Runge was a great. We had 105 was in enrollment.
105.
Wow.
105, and we had 39 boys playing football. So I mean, it was like it was and the other 3 were managers. So I mean, it was a great thing, and I appreciate my time there. And all those people, they were so proud of that school and that team. I haven't been back there in a few years, but I know that I owe that place. I have a lot of respect for that place and all they've done for me and my family.
He's Ricky Locke. He's the head coach of the district champion San Antonio Southside Cardinals and the former head coach of the Runge Yellow Jackets. Coach,
that's right.
We sure appreciate your time. Congratulations again on a fantastic 2022, and we look forward to seeing what you do in 2023.
Well, I appreciate all y'all do for high school sports and high school football, and you guys make us all look sound a whole lot better than we are, and I sure appreciate that. Thank y'all much, man.
Absolutely. There he goes, Ricky Locke, head coach of San Antonio Southside Cardinals. I had to bring up Runge. You don't see a lot of guys. You see guys who will coach,
and they get to about 3A, and then they say this is big enough,
right? Like that difference between he went to 105, 105 to 1646 at Southside.
Yeah. And a lot of that
is a different animal.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of that too is more like personal family preference of like a lot of the guys that coach at that they like the small town. They like doing that. To see someone do that and then move to close to the heart of San Antonio is jarring.
Yeah, it is. But Coach Ricky Locke doing big things down there. I need, like I said, I need to look this up. He might be already the winningest coach in Southside history.
Tony Blaylock said earlier that Locke has far and away the most wins at Southside.
It's got to be because, I mean, you kind of look up and down their history, and it's like, you know, they would rock a 6-3 record like in 1992 when they won their lone district championship before Locke's arrival, and that was like throw a parade.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And now they're rocking 10-2. And before, 9-2, 9-3, 8-3, like that's what they do. They've set a new standard there at Southside, and we appreciate Ricky Locke hopping on with us. Let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts?
In your question, we have an answer to your question. Do you remember what your question was?
I have no idea. Do you think this is coffee? No, I don't know.
The Abbott softball team.
Yes.
4-2.
Let's go.
He said 4-2, building a culture.
There you go. That's right. Created by culture.
Yeah, exactly.
On the back.
So anyway, shout out to the Abbott lady softball team.
I wore that shirt to T-ball practice yesterday.
Nice.
And some guy asked me, one of the other dads asked me, "Hey, what is that?" And I said, "Oh, it's Abbott High School. It's a small school there in Central Texas." He's like, "Oh, did you go there?" And then it like gets into this whole thing of like, well, no.
Let me sit down and tell you what I do for a living.
So I host an internet show, and there's a guy who's in the comments every day.
Head football coach, assistant softball coach, athletic director.
It's just a long story. And
six-man coaching president.
Oh, and by the way, you better believe, like, I've got a thanks to former head coach Cal Netherland at Somerville, I've got a Yegua shirt that I love.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable. And I wear that, and that gets a lot of, like...
Well, yeah, and then people go, what's a
Yegua? And then it's like, and it's the whole thing. All these shirts that I wear, they only, like, invite more... They spark more questions than they answer.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And then even when you give them the answers, they go, okay.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like when I would wear my Rankin barbecue shirt, then it's like... I've had multiple lengthy conversations sparked by that Rankin.
Yeah, I have to. When people ask me, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" I don't get into it. I just say, "Oh, I cover high school football." Like that's the easiest. That is the easiest thing for me to say.
By the way, we have some breaking news. My mom listened to the start of the show today, which is very on brand for my mom. Hi mom. She was in Arizona at spring training.
Nice.
Very on brand for her and like my wife. They'll listen to the nonsense portion of the show before we get into the football. And there's
my mom does the same thing.
And then there's a lot of people who tune into this show who are like, I can skip the first 8 minutes and get into the football.
Yeah, my mom says, I love the pre-show.
We give a little something for everybody. Anyway, apparently my Uncle Don is leaving for Tokyo tomorrow. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Maybe Uncle Don can do some research for us.
Maybe he can. He can get to the
we can have him on the show.
In Tokyo. Anyway. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at TCTF. Like us on Facebook. Facebook.com/Dave Campbells. Follow us on Instagram. Instagram.com/Dave Campbells. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Thanks again to Ricky Locke, the head coach of the San Antonio Southside Cardinals, for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please give me your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you tomorrow. Texas Football Today.